running game and his ability to take it down and get the big play and get the yards. I've always known that he couldn't do that like that for long in the NFL. You can't do that. You look at, though, some quarterbacks that do live with it and have done good. The quarterback in Seattle is the best I've ever seen at sustaining success with his mobility. Yeah. But he sure is good at it. And he sure has gotten, if you notice him, boy, he just does not get hit with a lot of impact. Yeah. And so Dak can do that. Dak will do that. And he can evolve to where he just will take less and less hits. He has to, or we won't have him to play.
All right, that was Jerry Jones talking about Dak Prescott. He has to run less. He has to evolve. And, you know, that boy over there in Seattle, I don't know why he didn't say his name. Stephen A., your reaction to Jerry's comments?
I'm disgusted. And I'm going to be very serious here because obviously when I hate on the Cowboys, it's because of their fans. It's not because of the organization. I happen to be very, very fond of Jerry Jones, to be honest with you. But I got to tell you this. I've got enough on my plate. I've got enough on my schedule. But, Max, if there was a job that I'd volunteer to do for free, if that what's that station, 105.3 or 103.5? Which one was it in Dallas? In Dallas,
105.3.
Whatever. I'd volunteer to come on every week on their show to follow up Jerry Jones. Like Jerry Jones do an interview with them, and then they come to me to ask, what the hell did he really say, and what the hell did he really mean, and whether or not it made any sense. Because listening to this man's drivel is disgusting. Let me get this straight. Dak Prescott, fresh off of 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 4,900 plus yards passing. You still can't reach a long-term agreement with him. He comes back this year with a new coach who Aaron Rodgers and those boys in Green Bay deemed just archaic, okay? But still in all, even though it was a 2-3 record, those first 5 games with Dak Prescott, really 2-2 because he got hurt that 5th game. And at the time, he's completed 68% of his passes, 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Clearly, their offense was one of the top 2 offenses in the National Football League with this brother at the quarterback position, who you still haven't paid. And since he has departed, you see how pathetic and moribund the Dallas Cowboys have looked as an organization. Ezekiel Elliott can't run the football effectively. The receivers look like, so-so because they don't have anybody to throw them the football. We see some dude, Ben DiNucci, being a starter when Andy Dalton couldn't go because he got concussed by the Washington football team. All of this other stuff. And you're going to point to what Dak Prescott needs to be doing better, knowing that he's rehabbing, he's ahead of schedule, and trying to work his behind back just to make your franchise look just decently respectable? Are you kidding me? As awful as the Dallas Cowboys have been, with all of their problems, the fact that Jerry Jones would take the opportunity to critique anything about Dak Prescott, it's blasphemous. Just blasphemous. There's no excuse for it because him not playing in the hospital bed or at home with his leg up, ankle finally twisted back in place and all this stuff. We all worry. Thank God he's okay. This brother, in his absence, has shown his greatness, not just as a player, but as a leader who is worthy of everything he wanted from Jerry Jones. And you're going to critique him? But you got DeMarcus Lawrence getting 1 tackle. You got Jalen Smith, and I love these boys. I like Jalen Smith. Out of pocket, he's going to be coached by Mike Nolan. Ain't his fault. I'm looking at this stuff. Max is just unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable that Jerry Jones could fix his mouth to sit up there and find time to critique Dak Prescott when you clearly have problems everywhere else. It's unbelievable.
Stephen A., I have a lot on my plate. This show, the radio, the boxing show. But I would volunteer to come on that Texas station, that Dallas station, after you came on to criticize Jerry Jones to defend him in this case. And this is why. You got this one all wrong. You have Jerry Jones' intention wrong and the content. First of all, he didn't come out criticizing Dak Prescott. What he was saying is, as great as Dak has been, I've handicapped him. I've handcuffed him by not wanting him to run even more because it's dangerous. Now, Whether or not that's a fact, who knows, right? Like, there have been plenty of people who said and done studies and stuff and said, actually, run frequency is not the best indicator for injury or even correlated with injury. And quarterbacks don't get hurt out of the pocket anymore than they get hurt in the pocket, right? But it has been the orthodoxy for years in the NFL. And by the way, if you want to, like, really examine the roots of that orthodoxy, is there a racial component to it? Right? Because you're excluding certain groups who the feeling was would run the ball more. Sure, we can absolutely look at that. But it also does make some intuitive sense. You don't have your offensive linemen protecting you, and guys are going to tackle you as though you're a running back, and that's why there's a slide rule and all this kind of stuff. So it's not like whether or not Jerry Jones is correct about it, he believes he's correct about it, and that's the kind of orthodoxy in the NFL. He's saying Dak is too good to risk injury. Now, he pointed to Carson Wentz. I agree with him. Hurt on a running play, hasn't been the same since. I think part of Wentz's issue is he used to run much more fluidly. He used to move better, at least to my eye. I think that's actually one of the reasons for his regression. And Dak Prescott, the quarterback to whom Jerry Jones offered a Carson Wentz, Jared Goff level $100 million plus deal, which Dak, his agent, probably turned down, got hurt on a running play. So it's not like Jerry Jones is here saying, see, negative Dak Prescott, negative Dak Prescott. He's here going, look at me. I'm the one who's thinking Dak really shouldn't be taking as many chances out of the pocket, whether Jerry's right or wrong about whether that's really a chance. He does actually anecdotally point to two guys recently, including Dak Prescott, who've been hurt out of the pocket.
That's not my point.
Excuse me, guys. Stephen A., I want to hear you respond, obviously, of course. Let's take a quick commercial break, and we will come back to this. And also coming up on First Take, is today's a Stevens A-list day? Because that's what I'm hearing. Is it going to be a Stevens A-list? That's the question. So 2 of your top 5 teams lost to NFC least opponents. So how far do the Steelers, your Steelers, and the Seahawks tumble? Stevens A-list coming up. Always good to see you. Hope you and the fam are well. Paul, you just heard all that. So what's your reaction on how this could affect Ohio State and if they should be in the playoffs?
Well, number one, I'm glad Keyshawn Johnson is not on that committee or, frankly, any committee that involves me. But I will say this, Molly, the Big Ten is meeting right now. The athletic directors are on a Zoom call, and they need to rectify the situation, and they need to rectify it immediately. This has been a league that has done almost everything haphazardly since August when they shut down. Then they came back in mid-September, and they made up the rules as they went along. So that's why I don't think this should be complicated. What I think they should do, though, to avoid any criticism from elsewhere, is to find Ohio State a game this weekend. It's not that complicated. Remember, the Big Ten championship game is next week. They'll play Northwestern, and it's not really a game that is pitting two of the great titans in college football. Northwestern has had a really good season, but they're not in the national championship race. But also going on next week are a lot of other games. The number 2, so the number 3s, the 4s, the 5s from the division are playing each other. So why can't they just rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic, so to speak, and find Ohio State a quality game Saturday, give them the opportunity to legitimately, according to their rules, get in the Big Ten championship game and move on. And if they can't do that, then change the rules. Otherwise, they are literally destroying their own opportunity to get to the college football playoff.
Paul Feinbaum, always a pleasure to talk to you, buddy. Happy holidays, by the way. I want to make this statement before I ask you this question. I mean, I think a legitimate argument could be made. Max and I have joked about, some of the dumb things that we've witnessed. The Atlanta Falcons was my choice, acting like an onside kick was a punt against the Dallas Cowboys. He picked what transpired the other day. I forgot what it was about, Max Kellerman, but I mean, that was the Jets. I'm sorry, the Jets. Absolutely. With Greg Williams in that call. But the Big Ten is right up there as some of that appears to be some of the dumbest people, because first of all, you prematurely canceled the season. If you hadn't done that, Paul, we wouldn't be having a discussion about Ohio State's 6th game if you hadn't prematurely made that decision. So because of that, I put this on them. And because it's on them, That's why I'm a bit flexible about Ohio State being at 5-0, trying to get that 6th game, because needing 6 games to be eligible for the Big Ten title game is something that the Big Ten came up with as they went along. And it's not Ohio State's fault. It's not them that tested positive for COVID-19. It was Michigan, who probably used it as an excuse to get out of the game the way they've looked this year. Having said all of that, here's my question. Damn it, they're number 4. Texas A&M is number 5. I know it's SEC, Big Ten, different COVID-19 protocols, but damn it, they home because their game has been canceled against Ole Miss. They ready. Ohio State's ready. How come we can't make that happen as a playing game?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to quote you Big Ten policy and SEC policy, which, by the way, they made up before this season. Stephen A., that would be the best. That would be the best game of the weekend. It'd be one of the best games of the year. And this is not a particularly good weekend. I mean, the biggest game is Ohio State, Michigan. That's gone. Networks pay a lot of money to get the rights to broadcast that game because it brings in millions of viewers, more than any other game of the year. But the protocols aren't the issue. It's not like the Big Ten protocol and the SEC's protocols are all that different. It's just stubbornness. And I think they should have figured out a way to do it. We saw last week with Coastal Carolina and BYU. You can play a game on 3 days' notice. I understood the Big Ten early on. Remember when Nebraska wanted to play Chattanooga or somebody, and the Big Ten said no? At the time, it seemed like the wrong protocol. But now it just seems like it makes too much sense. It's not going to happen, by the way. You already know that. But it's a legitimate debate, and I think it would be great for college football. But one thing you know, Stephen A., because we've been having these conversations a long time, the mentality in college football is as antediluvian as you can get. I mean, it surpasses even the NFL, which is very stodgy in protecting the shield. But in college football, they do not change, even during a season that everything has been turned upside down.
Well, I agree with one thing Stephen A. just said wholeheartedly, and I disagree with another. First of all, the canceling of the season prematurely. Guys, the fact of the matter is we're getting to the end of college football season because the tolerance for dead Americans in our country is far, far greater than I ever thought it would be because of, I think, frankly, poor leadership at the highest levels of our government. And that affected everybody. We're talking about 300,000 now, right? Dead Americans, something like that. And that's okay, right? And everyone keeps playing. And the issue is not just the player safety, it's the spread of the virus, which simply wasn't contained. We're an embarrassment worldwide in terms of that. And so that's one of the reasons the context has changed, right? Since that threshold is higher than any sane, reasonable person would have thought it would be, yeah, you can get to the end of a college football season. And why did they cancel in the beginning? I understand why they did. Nevertheless, I totally agree with Stephen A. about Ohio State and Texas A&M. That's going to be the best game of the weekend. Ohio State, Michigan wasn't going to be any good anyway. It would make everything better and solve the problem. Of course, that's what they should do. But here's my question to you, Paul. Let's say they don't, right? Since they make up the rules anyway, here's the least of the best options. Ohio State plays 5 games and they're in the playoff. Like, what's wrong with that, really? If you're not going to schedule another game, just change the rules. 5 games you can be in the playoff. Play for the conference championship.
Yeah, I totally agree, Max, and I think they'll get in because I mean we saw last night the committee put them number 4. If they weren't impressed with Ohio State's resume at this point, and there's only one more weekend after this before the next weekend's the final weekend, then they wouldn't be number 4. Texas A&M is a really good team. They have a 28-point loss to Alabama. I don't know what would happen if Alabama hosted Ohio State this weekend. Alabama's beating everyone by 3 and 4 or 5 touchdowns. But you're 100% correct. No rules matter this year because everything was made up. And as far as the Big Ten, they made a premature decision, as Stephen. All they had to do was delay, but they had to be the smartest kids on the block and say, we know more than you know. And once they looked around in early September when things were getting better, it all fell apart. If the country was, if we were where we are today back in August, the college football season would not have happened. I think that's pretty clear. But the country was in a slightly better spot, and we went on.
Paul, I'm going to throw this by you and Max Kellerman. We got to go. I'm going to say this quickly. We've been asking everybody else to come together, right? We've been asking the schools to come together. We've been asking the athletes to come together. How about asking the networks to come together? Texas A&M Ole Miss was scheduled for CBS. Ohio State, Michigan was scheduled for Fox. How about Fox and CBS coming together to apply pressure on the SEC and the